So Gaijin finally added the Harpoon missile, and honestly, it it's kind of meh on my opinion because it's a missile that just doesn't really have a full use in War Thunder currently, but it's still really cool to see. So before we dive into this video, I need you guys to hit that like button and subscribe. Only 9% of you guys are currently subscribed, and I know for a freaking fact you guys love me enough to, at the bare minimum, get that number to 15%. I know we can do it. So, if you guys aren't familiar, the AGM-84D Harpoon is basically the United States' go-to anti-ship missile carried on aircraft like the Super Hornet. Now, in War Thunder, we've had anti-ship missiles for a very long time. It just doesn't really have a place in the game, especially ones like the Harpoon that have to be guided in via a radar, so you actually have to have radar lock to send these suckers out to enemy targets. Now, it did get me thinking, though, we've seen so many munitions coming, and we've seen the great success that Nuclear Thunder had. Why don't we see a anti-ship missile or anti-ship mission game mode? You know, it'd be crazy cool to have a carrier task force, like a Russian carrier task force protected by players or by AI vehicles that Super Hornets and other NATO aircraft had to go take out, and vice versa. You know, a Russian or Chinese aircraft having to go take out like a American carrier task force. It would be a great game mode. I mean, you guys can't tell me that it'd be crazy cool to have one team have a, you know, United States carrier task force and one team have a Russian carrier task force, and then have F-18s, F-15s, Su-30s, MiG-29s dueling it out to try to sink the other team's carrier. It'd be a great game mode, and would actually give use to things like the Harpoon missile. Now, I truly do like the Harpoon in game. I think it looks kind of fun. It's fun to use. I love the Super Hornet. It finally has, you know, the missile. It's a missile the Super Hornet's carried its whole career, so it's nice to actually have it. Even if it doesn't really have a use in War Thunder, I still think quirky things like that should absolutely always be added, because guess what? You can use them in custom battles, or you can mess around and try to get a funny clip against, you know, AI ships in the few AirRB game modes, or even Sim. You know, the AGM-84D is going to be very useful in Sim, because there is a lot of Sim missions where you do have to actually take out a aircraft carrier. It's one of the missions in Simulator. And then there's also ones you have to destroy, like ships at port. The Harpoon could have a use there. So it's not like the missile's completely useless. It's just, obviously, it'd have a lot more uses if we had modern naval in the game. Gaijin's been pretty hesitant on modern naval. I really want it. I know for a fact, I have a lot of people that said, hey, we're going to get into naval once we get modern naval stuff in the game, which is very fair. A lot of players aren't interested in driving around, or I guess sailing around World War II destroyers, and a lot of the stuff, like the battleships, are all pre-World War II, and then some of them obviously are World War II, like the Yamato, the Iowa, but there's a lot of them. People don't really realize how far up in the tech tree it goes. I mean, we have, for a long time, the USS Arizona was the top US battleship, and it's pre-World War II, obviously sunk at Pearl Harbor, but a lot of those ships aren't actually as new as people think. You know, ships really only get into maybe the 50s for battleships, and then everything else does get a little bit higher, but it's not like stuff that has crazy munitions. So there's a lot of things Gaijin could do with ships, in my opinion. I think there's a lot of things that Gaijin could do with a game mode with aircraft and ships. I know, like I said, naval is not something that everyone likes. Obviously, the majority of the player base plays air, they play ground, they dabble with helicopters, Gaijin's working on infantry. Naval seems to be very down in the what they want to actually do, but it'd be fun. It's another thing that Gaijin could always do, and it's just one of those things that, now that we have more anti-ship missiles, especially the Harpoon, it gives us a lot of more options. I want to know what your guys' thoughts are down below in the comments. Obviously, I do not think that this is for everyone. Not everyone wants to come out and play an aircraft and trying to go sink a carrier, but I think players would have a lot more fun than they actually think that they would. And there's, you know, it's just an option. It's something that could be fun. Let me know your thoughts down below. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.